You're now tuned in to another opinionated episode of the Second Opinion Podcast, covering every topic in the world of gaming that we can think of. Gaming is our passion, and podcasting is our profession. Soleb and Bolt's podcasting since 2011. The Second Opinion Podcast starts now.
Okay, first off, let me say this. What the fuck is going on right now? Like, are we in a time warp? Is that what is happening? I feel like we are.
Welcome
If you
to
are
12 years ago.
This is my favorite podcast with the Citadel.
It's Toaster, Commander Toaster. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Second Opinion Podcast, episode 346. And as you can see, you're watching this not just live on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, but you're probably also watching the video version of this on Spotify podcasts. So big shout outs to these two gentlemen. It has been some time since we have done a podcast together. We've been talking about doing something like this for so long. And to be honest with you, I just dropped the ball so many times. I was like, oh, yeah, we're doing this. So I am excited to be here with you guys. I'm so excited. I can't believe it. I want to give a shout out real quick to the one and only Mark, who is in the chat right now. Mark has been a fan of Second Opinion since we started Second Opinion back in 2011, and he has always supported the channel. Anytime I do a live stream, he always pops up, and it's just amazing. And so big shout out to him. So yeah,
so like that deserves a hi Mark.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, hello, Mark.
Hi Mark.
Well, hello.
Yeah. So the Second Opinion Podcast, the reunion episode is now here. And as you guys can see, we have two old bastards with us that have been living their life and all kinds of stuff. So we're joined by Jason Skelly Belec, the previous
What's up,
co-host
everybody?
and co-founder of Second Opinion Pro, and also joined by the one and only Jeremy Toaster Roughan McGee. I forgot to put McGee in there. I'm sorry.
Oh,
man.
so as Toaster has matured.
Oh yeah. What did you called yourself something different now? Correct?
Oh, for a while. So I had a friend who was concerned about a situation in her life, and she came to me and she, like, I talked to her, chatted, and gave her some advice. And she's like, "Thank you. You've always been my Obi-Wan Kenobi." And my nickname growing up was my last name because that's what people called each other back then.
Yeah.
In the 1890s. And
I didn't know your last name was Fuckwit.
ouch. That hurts to say. So yeah, I closed the chat out and I was like, holy shit, Rowan Kenobi. And so for a brief moment, actually, no, let me phrase. So on Xbox for a little bit, I became Rowan Kenobi. But I went to go change it on the PlayStation, and the PlayStation gives you this message to make you feel awful about wanting to change your gamer tag. And it was like, you've been ToasterMcghee forever. Do you really want to change this? And I was like, no. The problem with the original ToasterMcghee on Xbox is, for some reason, unknown to most of us, I got banned. I don't know why.
It was Skelly.
It was not. I mean, no, him and I, it was a mystery to the both of us.
Cheating.
Well,
We called the Scooby Gang, and they were like, "We owe now."
We, like I said, we're joined by two previous co-hosts of the Second Opinion Podcast. People that these two guys, if it wasn't for Toaster and Skelly, Second Opinion wouldn't have happened at all. And on this show today, we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. We're going to talk about our life. We're going to talk about, how Second Opinion came up, some of our best memories, and we're going to talk about some gaming news as well. And I'm just excited, man. I really am. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have you guys here. But before we really kind of get into like what have you been gaming, or this topic, the change that I have called life's a bitch. How about you? There's something that I want to show you guys that we have talked about on the podcast for some time now. And
Man, I told you not to link out my OnlyFans.
let's just watch this real quick.
Hey, it's Toaster with the secondopinionpod.com. I am joined by Matt Berger, a developer on Diablo 3. And
you
Matt
can
the
see
Ninja.
his face too. The minute I call him Matt, he's
So,
like, "Fuck this guy."
Matt, what can you
Yep.
tell us about some of the joys of bringing this wonderful PC game to
I was
console
behind the
fans?
camera
Before I
cringing
go
because
with
I
the
saw his
joys,
face.
I'm gonna go with the pain. It's Matthew. Nobody calls me Matt. Matt the Ninja, Matthew the developer. So here we go. I am so chuffed.
Oh, no.
Oh God!
That was
This wonderful
Wait a
PC
second.
game to console.
First
What
off,
can you tell us about some of the joys of bringing this wonderful PC game to console
Matt's
fans?
Before
laugh,
I go with
bro.
the joys, I'm gonna go with the
Like
pain.
seriously,
It's
if anybody ever
Matthew.
wanted to, like,
Nobody
can you
calls me
voice
Matt.
act the Joker
Matt the
for us? There we
Ninja,
go.
Matthew the developer. So here we go. I am so chuffed. I'm so
Oh my
excited.
God.
Be-
But this moment right here is just, it made the video for me. I've watched it so many so many times.
I am joined by Matt Berger, a
Look at how
developer on-
Right
neatly
there.
trimmed that beard is. Look at that beard.
It's perfect. But when he looked away, I was just like, I've got to show that on the podcast.
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
I gotta show it, man. But-
Matthew, if you, for some weird reason, stumble across this particular episode of the Second Opinion podcast, let me once again apologize and express my deep
oh man.
sorrow for calling you the shortened version of your first name. I appreciate you continuing the interview with us after I did that. 'Cause,
Bro, how fucked up would that be if he was like, no one calls me Matt, get the fuck out of here?
Or he
yeah,
just
like I
walked
would have
off
just like I
screen.
would have like stood there with a microphone being like,
Please don't make us leave.
this is like the worst Monty Python sketch ever.
Oh my God, man.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, I
thank
had
you for also making an amazing Diablo entry, by the way. Like I still
Yes.
play Diablo 3, especially now. You got me on Diablo. This is your fault for posting that. video.
it's okay. It's okay.
So you guys remember how I felt about Nintendo, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Like I felt about Nintendo as Jay felt about Skyrim.
It sucks.
And then the freaking people behind Marvel Ultimate Alliance were like, we're going to come out with a third game and we're going to make it a Nintendo Switch exclusive because we're dicks. And I was like, you bastards.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys know.
Hey, look at
I
the bottom,
love-
Jay.
You seriously, we have a ticker.
Please hound Skelly to finally play Skyrim.
Hell
Oh
no.
my God.
I caved and got a Switch. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm playing Marvel. But the ultimate like ray of just heavenly light coming down that I was like, okay, maybe Nintendo isn't awful. There's nothing like laying in bed before you're trying to go to bed and you're just trying to relax and playing some original Final Fantasy VII on a handheld console. And then I specifically bought Diablo for the last time I went to PAX, so I had something to do while I stood in line.
Oh my God. Well, I'm going to tell you this. Since we're on the topic, we'll go ahead and get that topic started real quick. So, life's a bitch. How about you? So, in this little show introduction, we used to call this "What Have You Been Drinking? What Have You Been Gaming?" But as I said in this description, for fuck's sake, who has time for that now? And as I say that, Skelly's drinking. So, I'll do it quickly, and then we'll go around. We talk about this on the podcast all the time. I usually my days are from start to finish of either working and then going and picking up the kids and so on and so forth. But
Can we
I
get
always
a ticker for how many times he says kids?
there's going to be 3 times. I promise.
Jay, let's turn it into a drinking game.
Yeah, probably going to be fucked up tonight.
We're gonna be done.
But yeah, so but I always do gaming, man. I always do gaming. And what I've been gaming recently, I haven't been playing Call of Duty as much as I was there for a little bit, but I did I did jump into the Diablo beta, which we're going to get into our opinions and everything on that here in just a minute. Which I did have fun with, but we're really going to talk about our impressions, especially with both of these guys on here. They're huge Diablo fans and Blizzard fans. So, but something else that I've been playing is Resident Evil 4, and it's amazing. I'm really loving it. Big shout out to Capcom for sending us a review code of it, but it is a fantastic game. And I think these guys are the ones that eventually kind of seeped into my brain, and I was like, I've got to get a good PC, because like most of these games now, I buy them on PC, even with the Xbox, even with the PS5. When I want a big, really good game, if I'm not buying it or I'm getting a review code for it, whatever, it's always usually on PC. And I am just shocked. I'm shocked how amazing it is. It is a really beautifully done remake. And there for the longest time, I thought, Dead Space remake was the best looking remake, but this one, man, I'm going to tell you, it is fantastic. So,
So wait, here's a question about it though, because this is like I loved the remakes of Resident Evil
Yeah.
so far that have come out, and I loved 7.
yeah,
But I have a really big asterisk next to RE Village and like the remake of Resident Evil. Was it 3? Yeah.
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 Is it like 3 hours long? Like most Resident Evil.
No,
If I'm spending $70 on a game now, I want like at least give me 20 hours.
no, yeah. That's the good thing about this one, is that they have added more stuff to it. They've added more side quests. And I mean, honestly, like I did a stream of the original a couple of days before the release. And, right off the bat in the original, you get out of the truck, you walk up to the house, you save the dog, and then you kind of move about your way. And then
Spoilers, sir.
well, I'm talking about the. I'm like, bro, that shit came out in 2005, motherfucker. But
Hey.
in this, I mean, it's such a
Spoiler,
dramatic difference.
You're Revan.
That's an old spoiler.
Darth Vader is his father.
Somebody's like, "Oh, I'm fucking done." But yeah, so like in the remake, I mean, right off the bat, when you go and you start looking through all this other stuff, it's just shocking how different it is. It really is. It's almost shocking. And I've had a lot of fun with it. I really have. So my review should be coming sometime soon or whatever. But with that said, we're gonna tag downwards and we'll go to Skelly. Skelly, how's life been treating you, my bro?
My life's been good.
Yeah.
Just been working. That's pretty much been it lately.
Yeah.
Moved into my own place about a year and a half ago, so living by myself is fun.
Yes.
Still doing a lot of gaming. Lately it's been, and I know people feel a certain way, but I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
A lot of fucking Fortnite, dude. I hated Fortnite when it first came out, but ever since they released the no build mode, Fortnite's just been on a tear. All of the partnerships, all the partnerships they've had. I'm a big My Hero Academia fan, so when they incorporated like,
sorry,
you're gonna die.
You got something against anime, buddy?
We're all getting the Rona via the internet. No, but Fortnite's been a big thing that like I've religiously been playing that. Like I said, Hogwarts Legacy, Diablo 4 beta since last weekend. I know we're going to get into it, but I can't put that game down. Which I loved what they did last week when the beta went down, when they shut it down on Monday. literally people that were still in the game got to play for an extra 2 hours.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is, yeah, I loved it. But yeah, we're going to definitely talk more about that. But other than that, not really much since we finished with Second Opinion, since I stepped away from Second Opinion and I started Nerdfensive, stuff like that. Over the years, done a lot in gaming still. I was on 2 panels at PAX. You know, I worked with Acer, League of Legends, Alienware at PAX, stuff like that. So I've still been keeping my finger on the pulse with gaming. So
Awesome.
it's been fun, and I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, of course, something that we have been wanting to do for forever. Toaster,
Yes.
how has life been? What you've been gaming?
Well, I mean, surprise to no one, headlines to nobody. How is still alive and well in World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
I've joined a Kick-Ass guild. Big shout outs to Revelry. You guys are awesome. What else? You know what? It's fun. I haven't settled on something permanent because I'm really just filling space until Jedi Fallen Order comes out.
Oh man. Not much
but
longer.
I did rip through God of War Ragnarok. I thought that game was fucking beautiful. And I love Christopher Judge.
Yes.
I've loved him as a actor and a human being since Stargate SG-1. I think Teal'c is one of my favorite characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that game, especially taking advantage of the PS5, that game was just beautiful. And a little sidebar on that, I cannot wait to see what the PS5 is capable of as developers figure it out, how to use it more and more and more. What else? The Witcher 3 patch. I had to. Even though, so.
Why don't you talk about what was in that patch?
Oh, the realistic vaginas on the witches, which I don't know. I mean, we've all kind of matured, so I mean, I know some of
Have we though?
I mean, I at least grew a better beard. Have we? How do I say this politely? Like, if you were still happy to see them with, hey, landing strip.
Realistic hoo-has?
After seeing what they look like for real, you go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Please.
You've actually seen one in real life?
No.
You son of a bitch.
Wait. So loading.
Oh my God.
He's
like, hang on real quick. Let me share my screen. I'm like, no. Wait.
What else? Destiny 2, because I still enjoy playing that game.
Yeah.
It's actually helped me get a lot better at shooters. Because I don't have a clan, so I do stuff by myself. Doing it by yourself in that game is fucking hard.
Kind of like real life.
What else? The Diablo 4 beta, of course. Something that happened since we started this podcast, and now I got married.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My wonderful wife,
Hissy.
Yeah, my wonderful life with my wonderful wife, Hissy Fitz. Her and I have started playing Valheim, and I'm sorry I slept on that game. I am glad it came out on the Xbox because I'm probably going to break the internet with this statement, but the only game I play keyboard and mouse with on PC is World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
If you see me in a game that I'm playing on my PC that is not World of Warcraft, I am playing with a controller. And apparently this breaks some unknown religious law of PC gaming that I could give two flying rats behinds about.
Just a little bit.
What else? But yeah, that's about it. I scoped out the Hot Wheels game. That's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like I said, I'm biding my time until Survivor because holy shit, I cannot wait for that game.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome, man. It really
and
is.
I'm not afraid to admit this. I play that game on easy because I'm playing a goddamn Jedi. Right? I shouldn't have to time my parries to do cool Jedi shit.
Yeah. 100% agree with that, bro. Oh my god!
And
There are certain games I play on easy too when you're trying to enjoy the story and not dying. Every 10
yeah.
I
minutes.
played
Yeah.
Callisto Project on easy because I didn't want Dead
No,
Space Light. to piss me
no.
off.
Listen, we're not going to get into that game. Okay, we're not going to get into that game because
I'm sorry, Striking Distance, but there was nothing different between that game and Dead Space.
bro.
Yeah.
There was nothing. Hold up. There was
Twitter
nothing
anymore.
different. First off, secondly, fucking easy mode. This shit still wasn't easy.
Right.
The fucking like, oh my god, it was ridiculous. Like I was
I'm
trying to
playing
get
the
my
Dead
review
Space-
out as quick as possible. I'm like, oh, I got this, bro. I get to the end. I was stuck on that boss for like 6 days, bro. I rage quit that game so many times. I was like, I'm done.
Oh, speaking of Elden Ring,
Elden Ring. I still haven't played Elden Ring.
I can't get into those games.
you know what? I found a cheat. So there's this zone you can get to, and if you do do the quest right, you can get there before you're supposed to. And there's like this like cliff that you walk up, and there's all these like sleeping little weird monks that kind of look like the little thing with the knife.
I think we pinpointed why he got banned.
Cheater. No.
Cheater.
All right, an exploit. You get to this like cliff, and there's this giant ass bird chilling in this like blood pond below you, and you shoot the bird, and it runs at you to attack, but it falls and dies. And you get like 11,000 souls every time you do that.
Really?
So I grabbed a 6-pack and some other stuff. And actually, wait, I live in Massachusetts. It's legal here. So yeah.
He got baked.
I got baked and a little beers and just killed this bird for like 3 hours and farmed like 200,000 souls. It was like, yeah, let's level up the dexterity here.
So do you think that's why you got banned?
No, I'm not. We're not getting into why I got banned on the original Xbox 360 on a podcast you're broadcasting to the goddamn internet.
I know why my Xbox got banned.
Yeah, you know why my Xbox got banned as well.
Hey,
you
listen,
jackass.
I remember coming up to your house at PAX East. Okay. Hey, guess what we're playing today? I'm like, oh, what is it? I don't know if you remember that or not, but it was a good time. It was fantastic. Which, by the way, speaking of that, I got to give another shout out. Skelly's mother. How is your mom?
Wow, bro.
Oh, Peggy.
Peggy. How is Peggy doing?
She's doing good. She's had some medical stuff going on lately, but she's still up and kicking. She's living in Rhode Island now with a friend of hers, so she's not alone anymore since I moved out 4 years ago.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Peggy, man. I remember coming to
all of us at your house.
Oh, bro. I remember coming to your house, and she was so freaking nice, man.
She put up with so much. Like Jeremy can fucking vouch for that. On a Saturday, I would have my fucking house packed with people, and my mom's just sitting in the living room watching TV. Do you need something? Do you want something to eat? There's stuff in the fridge.
I'd show up, and she'd be like, "Jeremy, there's lunch meat in the refrigerator." I'm like, "Thanks, Peggy.
I appreciate it." Your mom's
like
a real one.
It was her birthday party. That when I was wearing the Patriots jersey.
That was Super Bowl party.
Super Bowl party, yes. When I was still an accepting Patriots fan, and
when we lost to the Giants that game.
I'm so glad Tom Brady is gone.
Hey, at least you don't have to deal with.
I can't believe you guys got rid of Ezekiel Elliott. You got
bro. How stupid! How stupid!
And this is where the podcast goes to a sports podcast.
Telling you, oh my God.
Can I, you say how stupid, but then I think Jerry Jones, and then that makes sense.
Oh my God, man. Well, anyway,
he could end up on the Patriots, and like Belichick will never with Ezekiel.
We just signed Juju Smith-Schuster, so I'm fucking stoked.
Hey, you know what? I saw that. Yeah, that's going to be good for y'all, man.
We've grown up. Just real quick now.
I made it to the Super Bowl for the 3rd season in a row in my fantasy league. This year or last season,
congratulations.
Somehow my team or my division let me get Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson in a snake draft.
Someone said,
I told my buddy about that, and he was like, "What is wrong?"
Camping a bird.
What's camping a bird? Is that a stop talking about sports reference?
No, that's what you said when we
You
were
said
talking
that.
about when you were talking about Elven Ring.
Oh,
And this is
camping a
why
bird.
we live in Massachusetts. Jeremy done smoked himself stupid.
no,
Yes.
I'm just coming down with Alzheimer's. That's all.
All right, so a reunion years in the making. So we're talking in this section of the podcast, we're talking about the conceptualization of second opinion, and I will say this to start this out. When me and Skelly first met, it was on a website called SFX 360.
Shifted to, what? Oh,
Oh, yeah, dude. Literally that long ago. It's
Oh.
been 16 years, bro.
that website.
Holy
Yeah.
shit. I just
So
thought of that.
we got on SFX 360, and after the whole thing with SFX 360, we moved to shifted to you and work with Tony and them, and
Shout out to
then
Shane. Shout out to Shane who just had a baby.
Yes,
Yeah,
big shout out to
congratulations,
Shane.
Shane.
Congratulations. But in the middle of switching from SFX to shifted, me and Skelly kind of started talking, and we're like, I want to do a podcast. And then Skelly's like, well, yeah, I want to do a podcast. And then it just blossomed. And we talked about this on the Zoom the other day when we were talking about doing the show and stuff. And I went back and listened to the first episode, and, going back and listening to this stuff, comparing it and whatever, it's never a good idea. It's never a good idea. But the one thing I will say is that I, especially over the years, I have always gotten to the point of being just nostalgic, and I'll share all these photos and I'll talk about good times and this and that or whatever. But the one thing that I do know, I can feel about Second Opinion and about you guys is that we've grown so much since the time of us starting Second Opinion. And when we had that Zoom call, me and Skelly, were saying the stuff, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. And he's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And this, and it's just, it's such a good feeling to just reminisce and think about so much that we did. The way I look at it is all of us were inexperienced.
Yep.
We went from bouncing to some sites to running our own site. And big shout out to Jen, because if it wasn't for Jen, I mean, my God,
She played a
bro,
big part.
Yeah. I mean, for years, even up until 2018, of keeping that or 2017, I think, of keeping the secondopinion.com up and live and all that other stuff, paying for it. And me not even realizing that she was paying for it. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I'm thinking, oh, well, this shit, it's alive. We must have bought it or whatever. That even in that time, looking back and being like, wow, I just can't believe I was so naive. But then her doing the podcast with Toaster, and now she's doing her amazing stuff that she's doing and going around.
She's traveling all the time.
Yeah, she goes all to the supernatural conventions.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised within the next, I know Misha recognizes her every time she shows up.
Mm-hmm.
She just recently had some photos that she had taken at conventions show up on Jensen's album.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
They're like besties now and shit.
Really funny anecdote about Jen. We were at PAX Prime one year, and there happened to be a supernatural convention up in Vancouver going on at the same time. And we always joked about, and honestly, the Ill Popcorn podcast is coming back.
Good.
It's been a while. I had to source through some shit, but it's coming back. So anyway, but we're at PAX Prime, and we were joking about possibly going to Vancouver to do a photo op with Misha because he was going to be dressed up as Castile. And I have always joked with her about that character, and I've called him Constantine, Castile Teen, because on any of you who are listening who know what I'm talking about, he bears a striking resemblance to John Constantine
Yeah.
with black hair,
Especially with the coat and the tie and the,
So we were gonna go up there and have pictures with Jen and Misha and me standing off to the side, looking super confused with a Constantine graphic novel in my hand. But we had interviews to do at PAX Prime, so we couldn't make the drive up to Canada. And when we went out, I didn't rent a car. We just went straight from. We took the T from, or can't remember what Seattle's public transportation system is called.
Shit.
We took a train.
Oh my god.
Skelly hates Skyrim and Seattle.
Yeah.
But going back to the nostalgia thing, you brought it up, Caleb. We started with SFX, and it's funny because I was thinking about it the other day. Literally, when I was with SFX, I did a video series called First and 15.
Yes.
Or it was started as First and 10 because back then YouTube
you
would
used
only
to
allow
talk about that shit all the time when we worked at Expert Satellite.
Well, because literally, YouTube back then only allowed you to upload a certain size clip, so it would only be up to 10 minutes. So I would play the first 10 minutes of a game and review that first 10 minutes to see if it hooks you in. And then from there, I was talking to one of the owners of SFX. I will never say their names, but I thought of, seeing reviews online. I thought about doing reviews of games that came out 2 to 3 years before and doing a second opinion style, fucking review of it. Mm-hmm. And that's where the name came from. So then when we went to Shifted, that's why, I kept the name because I thought it was a great idea. We would give your second opinion, regardless if it was bad or good.
Oh,
if
man,
it was different from IGN or the bigger sites.
Yeah.
That's where the name came from. And literally we ran from it. We ran with it. I mean,
we kind of ran from it at the same time because
did.
At first what we were doing is, when we started doing episodes of the podcast and stuff like that, I remember us having that moment that we did the second opinion on the Blu-ray release of Mortal Kombat, and a dude on IGN had just trashed it. I mean, he was like, the visuals are horrible and blah, 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 blah. And I remember Skelly was like, hey, man, listen, let me say it real simple. Fuck off, because that movie is amazing.
Literally, I shit all over his review because, it's Mortal Kombat. You're not going to fucking get an Oscar-winning fucking movie.
No,
you're going to get Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
We weren't nice to sites that just trashed the game. The trash.
We weren't.
But
remember that whole thing? Have you ever played a Nintendo game in your life? Every time somebody from Polygon reviewed some indie game, they were always like, it's too hard. And I was always like, have you ever played a video game in your life?
Yeah.
But looking back on it though, we literally, regardless of what we did, I remember one interview, and there was a influencer. Back then they weren't called influencers, but there was a female in the industry that used to do cosplays and all that stuff, and on her website she had revealing photos and this, that, and the other. And I literally called her out and said, but you're using your body to get those viewers and all that stuff. And I literally called her out on it. Me and her became friends for a little while after that. And even talking shit about, I talk shit about IGN all the time back then. Yeah. We still had people like Game Over Greggy or Greg or whatever the hell his name was, Greg Miller on our podcast, even though because we were genuine about it. We were
exactly.
Open,
that was
honest. We told our opinions and we didn't care what anyone thought about it.
Yeah. And I think that's where it kind of started. We started out with that genuine perspective, and then it just, I think, it just blossomed into something amazing for the longest amount of time. We made a name for ourselves,
right?
And we've seen so many people grow and just become, really successful in the games industry and stuff. And these are people that we've known for years. Yeah. And I know a lot of people just like you guys do. But seeing them, and that's where I know I'm going to sound like some, hippie or whatever whenever I say it like this, but it's the best way that I could really explain it. We did it. Get ready to drink. Cool. Get ready to drink real quick. Okay. looking at my kids now, looking at my situation and all that, I'm so happy for those people, and I'm so happy for us in our situations that we're in, because I stuck with Second Opinion as long as possible, and that's something that me and Skelly had talked about before in the past, and me and Toaster and all this, we had our issues. We said stupid things to each other. We did stupid things on the site. But as we grow, not just physically, we grew mentally, and belly
I don't know what you're talking about. I am the pinnacle of male health.
But now that we're getting all like heartfelt and freaking, hug each other and kumbaya and shit, I still just want to say I fucking hate the both of you equally.
100%.
That hasn't changed over the years.
100%.
But I do have to say though, really quick, you touched on it. We all said things to each other, but I do have to say that being back on the podcast and stuff like that, if it wasn't for you, Caleb, Second Opinion still wouldn't be around.
Well,
you kept it and ran with it, and you've done a lot with what is it, Cinelinks and all that stuff, and you have grown this into more than I could have thought. I thought it was just going to be a podcast. We were going to talk, be online for a little bit. No one was going to give a shit, but I do want to thank you for at least keeping the the name going.
Man.
And keep going with it.
No question. I mean, and that's what was funny whenever I joined Cinelinks, is that their team and stuff. I was always posting like different videos. I did Celeb Suggest. I did. We started doing special episodes of the Second Opinion. We did Second Opinion in the Ring, which it was a podcast dedicated to where me and Bolts just talked about wrestling. We did another one called Second Opinion Off the Hinge, to where it was me, Bolts, and my wife and TJ. We had 4 mics all set up, and we just sat around and we talked about life. We talked about how it sucks to get old, and we talked about drinking, and we talked about raising kids, and then we did I think probably one of my best suggestions that me and TJ ran with for the longest time was grilling and chilling. I really started doing a lot in my career at that time with being a butcher.
Imagining a cooking show with the 3 of fucking us.
Bro, it was listen.
Jay with his fucking grass is like wine, like, so first.
So we did
trim the dill from the dill stem.
It was really honestly nuts, because what we would do is when we were doing, like, I was working as a butcher, I was working as a market manager, I was doing all this stuff, and I was like,
there's Caleb always slanging meat.
Yeah. So we got to that point, and I was like, why don't we try to do, like, connect these? Like, is there a way that we can actually make it to where it's interesting or something? And me and TJ kind of shot ideas off of each other, and he was like, well, what if we do something to where it's like, we talk about, like, we showcase food that we're cooking, and we do all this other stuff, and then we talk about some of the biggest gaming topics that are going around, and maybe even sometimes we do live streaming and stuff like that. And it blossomed into something really cool. I mean, especially at the time, we did some dumbass intros, like, it made no sense. Like, I'm gonna show y'all this one real quick. It literally, to me, I don't even know what the fuck we were doing, but where is it at? Oh, here it is, right here. It's a squirrel.
Squirrel.
Yes.
I guess
don't
it's like food texting ticket, like cooking.
Grilling and chilling. Episode 4. We're cooking some squirrel today.
That's when you know ADHD kicked in.
Wait, that's my jam, yo.
We would bounce ideas off of each other and just try to come up with something new. And I think, honestly, and I really do mean this, I think that's because of you guys. Because, like, when we worked together, we were always trying to be different instead of just doing the same exact old thing. So, there's a lot of people that have continuously grown and done streaming, and shout out to a friend of ours, Jason Joseph, Jay Shock Blast. He has done a lot of stuff, and he's grown and made a bunch of different stuff for himself. But he, in that perspective, it was like he was the streamer and he was doing all this other stuff or whatever. And but with us, it was always, it was even still to this day. Yeah, I'll do streaming and stuff, but I'm trying to get, back into the perspective of doing my opinionated videos and my Celeb Suggest. And I always want to do something different. So that's the thing that I think what has always made Second Opinion different is that, we are giving our second opinion. There is the norm in the perspective of, well, this is what's happening. And that's one thing that I will say about Bolts. I got to give a shout out to Bolts for being my co-host on the podcast on a constant basis. He's very opinionated. I'm going to tell you guys something right now that I haven't talked about on the podcast much, but Bolts in 2019 went to E3 with us. We were at the reveal for the Outer Worlds, and Bolts sits down next to me. Now, mind you, we had already had an occurrence at the previous QuakeCon when Todd had announced Fallout 76. And me and Rob on Cinelinks were like, hey, man, that could be good. And I look over at Bolts and I'm like, what do you think? And like Todd is standing, within a reaching distance. And he's like, that fucking sucked, bro. I don't think that shit's going to work out at all.
That would be me. Me and Bolts would get along great.
And I was like, bro, what? Chill out. Lower your voice. He's like, I'm just saying, man, I'm being honest. Like an online Fallout game, like, come on, bro. And then it was every episode after that. He was like, I fucking told you that shit wasn't going to work out. So, but then we were at the Outer Worlds event, and Obsidian starts showing the Outer Worlds to us. Okay. Now, mind you, we're sitting in a small compressed room with press and dev teams and all this other stuff. And I noticed that there was people from Bethesda, I think, in front of us and behind us. And I knew most of them from all the years I've gone to QuakeCon. We stand up at the end. And I was like, wow, that's going to be a good game. And Bolts is like, fuck yeah, man. That's what Fallout 76 should have been. And I was, and I'm just like, I'm serious. My gut drops. My gut just drops. And I was like, and I turn and look, and it's one of the VPs of Bethesda. I see him kind of turn back and look towards Bolts. Like it was almost like he was trying to look at his name badge to see who the fuck he was. And we walk out and I look, and Bolts had his badge flipped over. And I was like, oh, thank God your badge flipped over. He's like, no, I got up and I said it. But before I said it, I flipped my badge over. And I was like, oh, but
smart as shit.
Yeah, but he's always opinionated. And in all honesty, people cannot get mad at those type of opinions. We're going to have a difference of opinions. That's the thing that it is one of the biggest things. I would probably say this might be a little controversial in that perspective, but that's one thing that the world does need. We need to be able to speak about our opinions.
Well,
so 100%.
But wow, my brain. To Bolts' point, yeah, fans are going to say what they're going to say.
Yeah, exactly.
But there needs to be a lie. Like you cannot personally attack a fucking developer on Twitter because they reduced the size of the female protagonist in the game's breast. Come the fuck on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 100% agree, bro.
But yeah, that's the
one thing I love about being part of the gaming community over the years is we're all very opinionated people. We're not scared to let these developers know what we like and what we don't like and what we want to spend our money on and not spend our money on.
Exactly.
I just think it's hilarious that my entire tenure with this podcast and you two guys was because one day I was sitting on a picnic table outside of the Expert Satellite offices with Skelly.
Yep. Oh, I remember that.
Cigarette. And vividly describing why Isaac Clarke's stomp from hell far surpassed that of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh my god.
In space, here you had this jackass engineer named after Arthur C. Clarke and Isaac Asimov that when the shit hits the fan was literally stomping somebody into a corner to kill them. And the sound effect was just like this boot of God coming. Like, dude, you're like 140-pound nerd. Where are you getting that kick from?
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I start hanging out with Skelly.
Yep.
And
Well,
Skelly, I'm sorry to cut you off, dude, but like, I don't know how long are we going?
Me and Jeremy, our first, mine and Jeremy's first ever conversation was, "Hey, do you play games? Yeah. Do you play WoW? Yeah. Oh shit, really?
Did we just become best friends?"
Yep.
And it was us. It was you and me and Courtney, the entheogenic monk. I cannot say your
the entheogenic monk.
The entheogenic monk. Go check her out. Her drawing, her art is amazing.
Amazing.
Her painting is awesome, and she's a mom. So yeah, like I met Jay working at this bullshit DirecTV sales
the worst
company.
Fucking DirecTV third-party sales company ever.
I had the greatest retention rate, but the lowest sales rate because I never lied to anybody.
Like, listen.
Well, the company went out of business because they were shady as fuck anyway.
Yeah, like we were probably working for a money laundering front, but you know.
Yeah, probably.
They gave us a paycheck and they took taxes out, so we were good. And then I started hanging out with Skelly, and I essentially became the guy on the couch. Because Jay would go do his podcast with, I don't know who it was that you two were using as the original target dummy. But that target dummy kept flaking out. And Jay kept asking me, "Hey, dude can't show up. Can you pop on this podcast?" And I started podcasting with y'all. And
that was back when we'd have like 46 people in my gaming room on the couch, and me and Jeremy would have freaking microphone wires all over the floor, and we would be holding regular microphones and talking. And
then the day came where Jay and Caleb pulled me into a meeting before a certain episode of the podcast and went, "Hey, do you want to do this permanently?"
Yep.
And I was like, "You had me at hey." And that began this. Like, I think it's amazing that the three of us have not been on a show in fucking years.
Yeah, it's probably been like what, 8 years,
and it's like we never skipped a fucking beat.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, like we immediately fell into our podcast.
Yeah.
Talking shit to each other.
Yeah.
And
no, but just
both of you
being us.
Yeah.
I do want to point out one thing though, and I told Soleb this prior to the show, and I was going to bring it up here. The picture he posted on
Skelly.
We still need to do that freaking. We need to do that extra life chair. Like we need to summon
the
16-year-olds that live inside of all of us. And
no,
we need to. It's for the children, Skelly.
Listen, if we did it now, it would have to be much different. He would have to go full on MetaQuest, VR Skyrim.
I'll print out a Skyrim helmet on my 3D printer.
Yeah, you have to put like the Devil King thing on.
Yeah.
Crap. Where was I going?
Well, let me say that to connect what you were saying is that we just jumped right back into it. And, and what was, I will say this. One thing that I really did love is how we did grow, and we were doing the podcast. And then
we had a family for a little while.
Yes, we did.
Because there was the moment where you were like, "Hey, Toaster, do you want to do a podcast?" And I was like, "I already doing one with you guys." You're like, "But no, another one."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, maybe." And then I talked to a good friend of mine. Shout out to Dunny
McGee
of the Clan McGee, no relation. And thus the 16-Bit Assassins podcast was born.
Yeah.
And it was me and my buddy Aaron in his basement in Marlboro drinking really good craft beer and doing a podcast of what started to be about classic gaming. And then it turned into us just ripping on everything.
Well, I will say this. We went from that point and y'all got that. He's like, "I'm out of wine." We got to end the podcast. No, I will say this. Then we started doing the bigger stuff. I think at that point in time, that's whenever we started biting off too much, more than we could chew. Because we did the whole
all of the
yes,
passes.
yes, we did the changing the phrase to taking over the globe one podcast at a time. We did the For the Love of Gaming, which had its own crew, Lag Switch, Talk Nerdy to Me. And then we had Dave, which shout out to him because he did a really great podcast. I wish they would have kept it going, but PlayStation Invasion podcast as well. And then, Toaster was doing the Il Popcorn podcast. And it just stretched. And that's one thing I will say. If anybody's watching this and they're thinking about doing their own podcast, doing their own YouTube channel, whatever else, I will say from one old man and pretty much from three old men, don't overstretch. Don't overstretch yourself. Don't make it simple. Do your scheduling, whatever you want to do. If you build a community and you grow it and it becomes popular and then you connect with people, awesome. But just don't overstretch.
But just stay focused on what you wanted to do.
Right.
Have fun doing it.
And one thing too is one tip I can give that I knew I personally ran into: when you go to a convention and you cover that convention, don't fucking make appointments with every company where you don't have time to sit down and relax. Because I personally, when I would go to a convention, I would have meeting after meeting.
Yeah.
And then when it came to actually writing about those for the website or doing a video about it, I was so overwhelmed. And a lot of people in gaming,
you were so burnt out. You just wanted to lay down and play a video game and not have to worry about finishing it before a deadline and do a review.
But there's a lot of people in gaming that, game because it's a way to get away from, mental stuff and all that. And like I myself had ADHD for years that I didn't take meds for. And if you're going to go to these conventions and like I said, don't book yourself too thin, because if you have those types of issues, when I sat down to do anything, with my ADD, I didn't know where to start. So I would just give up and go sit on the couch and play WoW.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that was one of my biggest downfalls.
If this is a section where we give advice to the younger podcasting crowd, don't be afraid of pissing somebody off.
Yeah.
That was my biggest thing. Like, I played so many games that when it came to me to write a review, like, I totally 100% respect the effort and work that goes into building a video game. It's not an easy thing, but there are some games out there that they aren't good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's no easy way to say, hey, your game's not good.
Listen, from a Bethesda fan that had to review Fallout 76 and having my
game's not good,
bro, having having Jordan, who shout out to him for doing Cineleaks and doing so amazing that he does, him saying, listen, you got to turn off the fan switch. Okay. Yep. And I was like, all right. And he was like, I know you love Bethesda, but you need to be 100% transparent about this review. And I was like, all right.
Perfect fucking segue into being honest with developers, even though you have like a freaking huge fangirl attitude towards them. The Diablo 4 beta.
Yeah. 100%.
A lot of good. There's literally, so much, but, you can't be scared to let the developers know, hey, your dungeon system is shit.
I don't know, man. To me, I don't play Diablo for any sudden massive cutting edge advancements in the action RPG genre.
No.
It's a security blanket. It's a fucking pacifier. It really is. Like, wow. Everybody circle this day on your calendar with a highlighter.
You're speechless?
I'm about to shit on Blizzard.
Whoa.
The problems in Blizzard's company with all of the drama with the way they treat their employees and the union and the wrong people tweeting about the response of harassed employees.
Yeah.
Aside, they have become Nintendo to me. They're riding the wave of the same franchises, and they're not doing anything to innovate them. I'm not saying that Diablo 4.
Played Diablo 4?
Hear me out. I'm not saying that Diablo 4 isn't amazing. I love Diablo 4, but I love Diablo 4 because I love Diablo. So in my mind, you can't fuck up Diablo. Diablo is the equivalent of the MCU right now. It's a formula. Do you go and watch a Marvel movie and shove popcorn in your face until you're going to die of a heart attack and drink enough root beer to get diabetes? Yes. And the reason you do that is because it's the same formula that grunge fans love about their music. Soft verse, loud chorus, soft verse, rinse and repeat. Bad guy blows up cities, superheroes come and save the day, rinse and repeat. We love it. It's a familiarity.
Yeah.
So Diablo or Blizzard doesn't want to change that formula because they know it's a security blanket. And if they change it, they have the potential of going off of a cliff with the money that Diablo could generate.
But they are changing it.
Like you look at Diablo Immortal, they tried. And thank God
No.
the Diablo fans were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with World of Warcraft. I, for the first time in my life, am seriously contemplating canceling my World of Warcraft character. Because, my subscription rather. Because every expansion is... I'm going to cancel Hal.
You're going to cancel him. He's like, you son of a bitch. You know what you said in that last
You
game?
did. I can't believe what you tweeted that last time, Hal.
You are
done.
Bitch.
You have no right to say that.
Oh my God.
Woman night elf. How dare you? But no, seriously, like Blizzard is literally like just I feel like they're just copying the homework but changing it slightly.
But
that's not to say that I'm not enjoying the games. It's just like I am looking at it from what I consider a realistic perspective of, yeah, I like the game. I'm going to spend the money, but do I expect like the addition of side quests and the whole like World of Warcraft HUD up in the right-hand corner?
No,
that's really cool. I am a little worried because I don't think that game is going to end nice for anybody involved.
Well, it's
let's
it's getting. Hold on, you have Diablo. Like I'm a huge Diablo fan since 1996 when Diablo 1 came out. Like literally, Diablo 1, Diablo 2 had this deep, immersive, character building as far as your skill trees and all of that, and actually being able to make your character feel the way you wanted it. Diablo 3, love the game. I still fucking play it religiously, but it felt like at that point they tried to change it so much to appease the casual fan that Diablo 3 to me, even though I play it all the time because I love the seasons and all that stuff, but it lost that uniqueness.
Diablo 3 it has more of an arcade feel.
Right. They lost that, deep immersive ARPG, feel to it. Diablo 4, playing it last weekend and then playing it today, the immersive, they may have gotten a little overly ambitious. We haven't gotten into the Paragon system yet, but may have gotten a little overly ambitious with, the Paragon system and all of that. But it feels more like I'm going back and playing Diablo 2.
I just want to make a point really quick to a mention in our chat about WoW Vanilla.
It really wasn't the same.
Retro gamer. I will say this about Vanilla. Those of us that remember Vanilla never wanted to go back to Vanilla.
Fuck no.
Like you can take that walk from Ironforge to Menethil Harbor and
shove it up your
ass.
Yes.
You could also take the flight path from Stranglethorn Vale to fucking Winter Spring and just kick that off of a pier.
Yes, like literally.
The one thing I love about Vanilla, the Vanilla servers, is signing in and seeing the people going, where are my quest markers? When do I get my mount? And why do I suck so bad?
When you would go from the top of the map to the bottom
and go for a walk.
When you would go from the top of the map to the bottom on a flight path, I literally had time to go to the bathroom, take a shower, go grocery shopping, and
you can make Thanksgiving dinner.
I was making brownies one day. I mean, the flight paths were that long.
The only thing longer than that flight path was in Final Fantasy VII. When you did your materia rigging correctly, you got Knights of the Round cast like 20 fucking times.
Yeah, but
I was going to say, finish what's. Let me ask you this with that perspective. I mean, with Jeremy, I wouldn't say it's in the perspective of him saying that he hates the game or anything, but
No, I don't hate the game at all.
What is something that you has just shocked you, Skelly?
That guy's gonna fuck us over.
Yeah, I think so.
I really think so too.
And Inarius
what is
is gonna
something
show
that
up me like, I'm gonna kill you.
What is something that you have really just pulled you in with Diablo 4 the beta so far?
Honestly, the skill trees and the immersiveness as far as being able to build my character how I want.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things that I really get into. I try to get into theory crafting a little bit, learning what spells do what, how they, work with each other and all of that. So that is one of those things that if I say that one more time, I'm going to really fucking kill myself.
You can't help that.
I need to get a drink if we're gonna turn that into a drinking game.
No, but the skill trees is one of the things that's getting me in there. Yeah. And the story so far is ridiculously good, where I'm already, thinking what's going to happen after Act 1. What's going to happen at the end of the game? Because we know right now in the Diablo universe, in the Diablo system, is the gates of heaven are closed right now. At the end of Diablo 3, we saw that with the, Malthael dying and all that. But I want to know if they're going to go back to that, because we have somewhat of like with Inarius in the game and all that with that teaser. Yeah. And it's drawing me in to know what's happening next.
Yeah. I agree on that too.
I swear to God, if Inarius and Lilith, like, we were talking about this in my Discord channel I have with one of the guilds that I'm friends with. Like, if Inarius is like, I'm sorry, I love Lilith, you have to fight both of us now, that's when my necromancer is going to lay down his or her scythes and go, you know what? Fuck y'all. You guys continue to move into this area after 3 demons and their families have attempted to murder every single fucking one of you. And now you two are a Maury Povich episode. You know what? Deal with this yourselves. I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm going to go over here. Well,
because like Inarius and Lilith, they created
Sanctuary.
They created Sanctuary, which you guys know me. I was the one on the short end of the stick for the longest time on Blizzard stuff. But when Diablo 3 came to PlayStation and consoles and all that, I was super stoked about it. And me and Dara played it from start to finish. And I just remember just being so shocked. I mean, I was so shocked. How good the game was, how exciting it was from start to finish, the amazing gameplay. So then, of course, when Diablo 4 was announced, I was so ready. And I mean, that whole intro for the Diablo 4 beta of just that moment to where Lilith comes through the blood veil or whatever.
Dude, that is the most fucking Hellraiser damn. And like, I was seriously expecting them to freaking show the lament configuration. I was like, when does Pinhead show up? Because this is a Hellraiser movie. This is
the whole Lilith thing with that cut scene in the church in the beta in Act 1. I've played every character now. And every time I get to that point, I skip with all my characters, every cutscene, every dialogue, because I've seen it. But when it comes to that cutscene, I'm like, oh shit, and I sit back and I grab my drink and I'm like, oh, this is so nice,
bro.
See, this is why I don't think the story in this game is going to end well for anybody.
Yeah,
you being the protagonist have already eaten blood rose petals, however the fuck that happened.
Yeah.
You have an easily corruptible population that keeps moving into Sanctuary for some reason. And then you have like a religious sect that is burning people at the stake, a la like Church of the Eternal Light from fucking Witcher 3.
Right? Yeah.
With like this super easily corruptible religious sect. And you're like the player going, well, see how, I mean, like, none of the Diablo games have ever ended on like a Disney rainbow and fucking Mickey and Minnie skimping off into the sunset.
Unless you go into Whimsyshire.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at least Diablo 3, like Diablo 3 sucked for Deckard and Deckard's niece.
Are we
Yeah.
gonna get a cow level?
I hope so. But like the end of Diablo 3, the hero walked away pretty much unscathed. Like, yeah, I'm Billy Badass.
I don't
You
think
know.
that's happening this time.
No, I feel like regardless, like that's the one thing like that has really impressed me about video games as we have, started our podcast and then, gone it. Like Spider-Man on the PS4 had me ugly sobbing on my fucking couch because of that ending. Like my wife had to come downstairs and check on me because I was like crying like I was at a funeral. Like,
Bro,
and
it's
spoilers
sad, man.
for any of you who still, for some reason, have not beat Spider-Man on PS4. When she goes, Peter, take off the mask, I was done. I was like, oh, no, May knows. Why did she know? Like,
I haven't played it.
What?
No, that's your fault.
Oh,
You
like-
really haven't played it?
I played like the first hour and a half.
Okay, so
Oh,
that
man.
moment,
Then my
Skelly,
ADD
does not.
kicked in
That's
and I
just
said,
one.
Fuck it, and
That's just one moment in a whole moment that will have you. Like, you remember that lump in your throat you got when fucking what's his face died in Gears of War?
oh god,
What's his face?
Carlos. I can't remember his character's name. I
Dom?
was not the Game of War nerd or the Gears of War nerd that you two were. I didn't start playing Gears of War until
Now,
much later.
Revert yourself real quick.
Hold on, I got to
One-
shout
one-
out and just a word of caution. If for some reason the powers that be do not cast Dave Bautista as Marcus, all I'm gonna do is growl and look at you like I'm pissed off Phoenix. Then I will never forget that moment in our podcast when we were talking about a remastered Gears of War. And Toaster just went, what? They're just gonna make his fucking I'm not happy look more I'm not happy.
pretty much.
But yeah, so yeah, Dave Bautista is Marcus Phoenix.
But as going back to Diablo 4, what Caleb, you haven't really talked about it much. What's your opinion been on it? What's the biggest thing right now that is keeping you playing it and looking forward to it?
I'll tell you what has excited me about it. Well, first, I always end up getting the like barbarian class. Anytime I play, I don't know why, but I'm like, I want a motherfucker that could like heavy slam shit.
Fucking
and do all
whirlwind all day.
Yes, whirlwind all day. I'm trying to. I don't know how to particularly.
You can go to the Twitch page and the chat's right there.
Oh, you mean I
That's
gotta
my
visit
bad.
Celeb's Twitch page? Fuck, I gotta give him a view.
Man, I'm sorry, bro. I have. I'm still trying to work out this whole thing, but retro gamer gal. But yeah, so the biggest thing.
I just love that. Warning: people are gonna say bad words on my podcast.
A little bit.
So the big thing that is really holding me with the game is the stellar gameplay, the amazing story. I was a really big fan of Diablo 3. I loved it, but when I saw the initial trailer of course, the teaser of Lilith, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is going to be pretty interesting. But seeing Skelly talked about it perfectly. The scene, the scene from the church, bro. I'm going to tell you.
That priest catches these fucking hands.
Oh my god, bro! When she's like, "Live in sin," and that chick just smiles, I'm like, "Oh shit!" This
And then
is
the priest is like,
that's the moment Freebird kicks in.
But then the priest is like, I gave birth to your son. Whack! I'm like, fuck.
Oh my god, 100%, dude. And I was just shocked by it. But the gameplay is just so smooth. I've really enjoyed doing the dungeon crawling and stuff. Like I've caught myself so many times in the beta to where I'm like, okay, I got to go over here, and then I see on the map it's like there's a little cavern here. I'm like, well, let me go over here and do this. And then I told when I was showing it to Dare, I was like, hey, Diablo 4 is coming out. We got to definitely play it together. she was like, well, what are you doing? I was like, looting. And she just looked at me. She's like, I'm so proud of you. Because her and Bolt's are really big looters. But
Oh, dude,
I'm
my
the type
wife
of guy.
in Diablo 3 like maxed out every class. And then there's me that's like, I'm just gonna do the Necromancer and the Crusader.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I think it's just a fantastic fantastic game so far. I was really excited for the longest time about Diablo Immortals. And then, I learned quickly that it wasn't as what I expected.
Right.
Because I love playing games on mobile. But what does Mark say? What type of media gets you in feels more video games or movies? I would probably say games, man. I would have to say video games for sure. I mean, video games, the biggest thing about gaming is it's the interactive entertainment perspective of it. Like one scene that really showed me how the connection is what Retro Gamer Gal says is The Last of Us, when Joel's daughter dies, when Sarah gets shot.
Oh God! The worst part about that is like Dunny was playing that, and he warned me that was coming.
Yeah,
like I knew it was gonna happen, and when it happened, I was still like,
bro,
oh,
I was
really?
tears to tears. But speaking of them, feels of games and stuff like that, playing Diablo 4 brought feels of the Second Opinion podcast. Like when I was playing it, I thought about you guys. I remember y'all doing the Diablo 3 unboxing of the collector's edition, which was, when y'all sent that.
I'm sorry, the Pandaria, motherfucking pandas.
Motherfucking pandas. No, but you kind of touched on it, like for me, it's a toss up between games and movies, but with video games, like, especially with Toaster touched on it earlier, Gears of War. That was one of my favorite stories in a game. Like in a shooter game, because those kind of games you don't really get an in-depth story, and that's not what people really play them for. But it had that story where I got invested in those characters from 1 to 2 to 3, even to Gears 4, even though how shitty that game was. But when Dom died, it was like I literally cried.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy shit, because they even said it in chat, you're more invested in the characters in games because you're playing that character. Mm-hmm. You are that character in the game. So you have more of a connection there.
Yeah.
Well, like I just said in the chat as well, I think it's easier to get an emotional response out of you when you're watching a movie with human actors.
Mm-hmm.
It's more challenging to elicit an emotional response from a person who's playing a video game, because you're literally looking at an animation. You're looking at polygons and pixels and shit.
Yeah.
Like, so to be able to develop, like, going back, and I'm sorry, Skelly, that you didn't finish the game, but I'm going to spoil it anyway. Like going back to how well they animated Aunt May in Spider-Man 4, and just overall how amazing that animation was. I mean, it's heartbreaking to see her in that moment when she's laying in the hospital bed and she tells Peter to take off the mask.
Yeah, it is.
Like, and it's not only the look on her face, but they somehow managed to make the weight of that statement come down on Peter so heavy that you saw the reaction through the mask. Like, that's super impressive, and that takes so much like understanding and like programming talent to develop like that moment in a virtualized space. Mm-hmm. Where it'd be so much easier to accomplish that.
Skelly, with what the fuck is your Twitch profile picture, bro?
Oh, me with the mullet? Hell yeah! I got a mullet wig, bro.
Oh man! But speaking of the emotional connection, I had an emotional connection with the other Spider-Man. I didn't really get upset with the first Spider-Man. I got upset on Miles Morales at the end of
Oh,
Miles
that
Morales.
best friend thing
You know,
was
it
brutal.
was nuts. I really honestly I thought that it was it was shocking almost. But emotional connections in games and stuff like that are always something that really take a big part of it. But one thing that is also emotional connection as well is the the time for a second opinion. And Toaster has a little bit of emotional connection about some of this.
Oh God, if we want to like actually keep this show within a reasonable time span, whew, I
Go
have
piss.
opinions. All
Do
right,
you?
yeah, I need to go use the restroom,
Go use the John.
the little gamers room.
So
Over the years, I kind of have an emotional connection to DC too. I even got tattoos from Batman,
you do.
Nightwing,
Total return.
Batman, Superman, Oscar worthy. Go.
Toaster will be right back. So Dwayne Johnson. All right. So the DC involvement with Dwayne Johnson. When Shazam came out, everyone of course knew that there have to be a Black Adam connection or whatever. Yeah. Black Adam came out. It had its ups and downs. I didn't think it was that bad of a movie. I mean, there was things about it that could have been better, but in that same perspective, Skelly, Dwayne Johnson seemingly seems like he thinks he's the president and CEO of DC now.
Oh God! When I was like, I didn't keep up with the drama behind it until he was in an interview a couple weeks ago, and they asked him about Henry Cavill, whatever the fuck that douche's name is.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, about the whole Superman thing. Yeah. And he like literally was talking about like if they should bring him back or whatnot. And it's like, dude, you're an actor in a movie.
Yeah.
You don't have, granted, you are Dwayne Johnson, you're The Rock, you're the greatest wrestler to become freaking.
He's like 100% ego.
Yeah, well, he's the greatest person to ever go from WWE to acting and being in Hollywood.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
he has millions of companies. He does. He is a great person. But the ego behind him, thinking that he is the end all be all of the DC universe because he was Black Adam, fucking trash, for Christ's sake.
Well, I mean, you guys have known this because I've posted this on Facebook. We've talked about this. I have so many opinions about the DC movie universe.
You didn't just hear that, did you?
What?
No.
Okay, thank God. I accidentally bumped into my stream deck and it was an audio, and he was like, "He's in the goddamn walls."
That would have been hilarious. I wish we heard that.
Would have been freaking
holy shit.
Oh,
so I'll rewind my comments to
the
original, like the Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League. We want to talk about the controversy and shit that led to that getting released. But I sat down and I was like, you know what? I'll give this a shot. It was 4 hours long. I'm like, I'll break this up. I ended up watching it like in one sitting. I thought it was great.
It was great. Yeah.
What Joss Whedon did to Ray Fisher and the Cyborg storyline, you asshole.
Yeah.
He was like the heart and soul of that movie.
100%.
But I am one of the I'm on the opposite side of the fence with Superman. I liked Henry Cavill as Superman. I liked the Superman movie. I liked Zack Snyder's take, because it goes back to me being a DC Comics fan. We understand why Batman won't use a gun. We get it because it's covered in every fucking movie that's ever come out, with the exception of the Batman.
But then why did Ben Affleck have guns in that movie? If I hear that one more fucking time, I'm gonna cut my own throat.
When somebody asks me that, that's when I'm like, you're not a Batman fan.
Exactly.
Because if you were a Batman fan, you'd realize that Batman is the Frank Miller Batman, and the Frank Miller Batman is a fucking badass.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the Jim Lee drawing style Batman and the Hush Batman, he's gadgets and I'm an awful person and Clark is an amazing person.
Yeah.
Frank Miller's Batman, he will shoot you because he's an angry old man.
Yep.
Speaking of that, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. So yeah, like the whole thing with like the Snyderverse and what happened that led to Joss Whedon taking over for Snyder was fucking awful. Like it was, you know, and I really would have loved to see the Snyderverse continue.
Yeah.
You know, with the exception of Wonder Woman 2, because there's some issues with that movie. Let's talk about Steve Traynor possessing some rando because Wonder Woman was like, hey, I wish my boyfriend was back. Like,
Right.
You know, I mean, yeah, no. And they never make, there's no like at the end of it, her and the complete stranger that she boinked while he was possessed by her ex-boyfriend or dead boyfriend rather, like exchange a look and move on with their lives. And you're like, wait, what?
I got that
right here.
Exactly.
The best gift my wife has ever given me, the black and white Dark Knight Returns. Oh my God, man.
That's amazing.
Listen,
you know, and like, I mean,
red from front to back
had some amazing moments. Ezra Miller and their portrayal of the Flash, I truly enjoy.
Yep.
Ezra Miller and their actions outside of their portrayal of the Flash is what are you doing, buddy? You know, that whole
constantly every time something pops up, I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you doing?
Like,
why do you know you're in the spotlight? Shut the fuck up.
That moment in the Justice League movie when, you know, in their portrayal of the Flash, they save Iris. Like, I thought that was fucking amazing. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, and then there was the moment of like, Barry, you have to break the law again. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. When did you do it the first time?
Yep.
You know, and I mean, you know, talking about DC being the age that I am, and I'm sure you guys, because you're a little younger than me, so you would have been even more impressionable. Michael Keaton being back in the fucking cowl is amazing. And when he's like, yeah, I'm Batman. I'm like, yeah, you are Batman.
When I saw that, I about lost my shit. I was like, fuck yeah. But
like, then they hear the impact that Dwayne, I'm the biggest ego the size of Mount Everest, The Rock Johnson decides to, like, dude, I don't give a shit how big or how much of an action actor you are. And I'm only saying this because I'm a nobody to never show up at my house to fight me.
You can catch these hands, sir.
All right.
I understand it. You are the Black Adam. I get it. But like locking Zachary Levi out after of showing up as Shazam, who is literally the Batman to your Black Adam. All right, like Superman has Lex Luthor, and occasionally he shows up to fuck with the Black Adam when Shazam's off doing something else. But that's it. For the most part, it's Shazam and it's Black Adam. For you to put the kibosh on Shazam showing up at the end so that they have to do something with a certain somebody showing up from a certain TV show on HBO Max because your damn ego got in the way is not doing any fans any service.
Right.
And I am 100% behind James Gunn firing your ass. I am not behind James Gunn getting rid of Henry Cavill, the Superman, however, because I feel like Henry Cavill was an amazing Superman. And I'm also partial because Henry Cavill is what happens when you put 100% of a nerd in that body.
Into the most handsome man on earth.
Right. Like, the dude's posting pictures of him building a computer, and you're wondering why your girlfriend's like, I love Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes back to the story of him almost missing out on the Superman role because he was healing a fucking raid in World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Well, Skelly, what with Dwayne Johnson and this whole perspective of things, the future of DC, you know, where it's going from here and stuff like that. I mean, what are your opinions on it? Are you do you feel that from what James Gunn announced with the future plans of DC, do you think that it's going to be successful?
I hope so. The only issue I have with the DC, like the movie universe, with DC is I've read DC comics forever. I'm a huge DC fan over Marvel to begin with,
Yeah.
but that whole thing where they've changed, they starting with Batman with Christian Bale after nipple Batman for so long with like
Yeah.
Val Kilmer. I mean, they
I
could
like-
have
I
they
like
could have
Bale.
they could have blown the Marvel universe away because they started the DC universe before fucking the first Iron Man ever came out.
I just think the problem with Bale is the voice.
I'm Batman.
Like the minute that he's walking through the sewer with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, "So why the mask?" And he's like, "So the people." I'm like, dude, he knows who the fuck you are.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I'm talking like that.
my issue is they try to like reinvent it with every other movie. There's no real cohesiveness. Where in the Marvel universe, like I don't read a lot of Marvel comics, but I've seen all the movies because they're all tied together. When I watch Iron Man, I now want to see the Thor movie because it ties into the last Iron Man.
Connects, yeah.
And DC doesn't do that as much because, like, if they did, Christian Bale with Joseph Gordon-Levitt could have been a perfect Nightwing.
Perfect.
100%.
He would have
could
been
have
perfect.
been Nightwing. But they screwed it up and tried to get so far away from not only the comics, but from making it a cohesive story that now I'm worried with, Twat Waffle the Pebble. I don't even call him the Rock anymore because he's a fucking pebble. The dude, like, literally, I'm worried if he's going to screw it up so much that he's going to push all of these actors away that have already played these characters, and they're no longer going to want to do cross movies. Like,
Well, that's the thing, though. James Gunn came in and pretty much said everything that's in current, like, theater, that's it. That's the end of it.
right? But how many times have they changed the DC universe in movies?
Yeah.
But see, I think they're trying to follow a relative pattern because if you really take a step back and look at this Flash movie, it's essentially the Flashpoint paradox.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
So, and like I think the success of the DC universe is really going to depend on the two actors you get to portray Batman and Superman. There is the Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, but unfortunately, I mean, Batman and Superman are still driving the car. Unfortunately,
but there's so much more to the DC universe. There's fans, like, I'm a diehard Nightwing fan. Not only Nightwing, but anything Dick Grayson and the Robins.
There's so many other characters too, like Lobo. Like, I'm sorry, Jason Momoa would make an amazing Lobo. I think he's a great Aquaman, but I think he would be to Lobo what Ryan Reynolds is to Deadpool.
Right. Instead of listening to, people like The Rock that are coming in and acting like they're all fucking high and mighty, listen to the fucking fans.
Yeah.
Listen to what they want. How many years have people wanted something to do with, Nightwing, that story, which I think the Batman with freaking Twilight Sparkly fucker, Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, yeah.
When
he was actually not bad.
He was amazing. But when they teased at the end of that they were going over to I'm getting a brain fart on the city that he went over to, but that's
Blue
where
Haven.
Yes, but that's where Nightwing went Dick Grayson went when he split from Batman.
Yeah.
He went to Bloodhaven to actually, find himself. And that's the first time we've heard of anything to do with that side in a Batman movie.
Let me say this though about the connectivity and stuff too. The one thing that I did love about Zack Snyder is he built what he built. Okay. And then the Justice League films came about, and then you did have the connection with Wonder Woman and Aquaman. And though I'm not going to say, they were always perfect. I thought Aquaman was a great movie. I thought, the original Wonder Woman was a great movie. I thought the Justice League Zack Snyder cut was extremely more clear of what Zack Snyder really wanted to do with that movie. And then, of course, having now the Flash movie that connects it, that is connected to it as well. It was getting to that point, but at the same time, in the midst of it, to have a movie like Joker come out and have a movie like the Batman come out, it muddies up the universe on a constant basis, comparing it to something like Marvel. Though I loved Joker. I love the Batman. I thought it was great. Robert Pattinson did an amazing job as Batman. But
Celeb, really quick to your point. Sorry to cut you off really quick, but like Marvel has the MCU, and it has a specific Marvel universe that it's following.
Yeah,
because like both DC and Marvel are really huge in the multiverse thing. The one thing that I think that is going to help James Gunn succeed is he's pulling kind of the same shit that Disney pulled when they bought Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
They said all of the comic books, all of the stories, all of the stuff that wasn't a movie at the time that they purchased the rights was what they were going to call Star Wars Legends.
Yeah.
And then from there, they've pulled in various threads. That's how you have Ahsoka. That's how you have, the Acolyte series that I'm still having a hard time how they're going to make me root for a Sith. Same reason I'm having an issue with the Gollum game. Like, how are you going to make me root for this guy? But what James Gunn is doing is he's saying, you know what? All of this stuff, we're going to call it Elseworlds.
Yeah, Elseworlds. Yeah.
And honestly, calling that Elseworlds just opens the book for so many different stories. Gotham by Gaslight, Batman Ninja, Superman Red Sun.
100%. Yeah. But my thing is the connectivity and I would probably say the putting it in simple terms, a clean cut story.
Well, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
To rebuild the universe.
100%. Yeah. Now I will say, and I think we can all agree, DC has always done amazing in their animation department. Always.
Oh, hell yeah.
100%.
Marvel could learn like 100 billion things from them when it comes to animation.
But in that perspective, I, as a fan of these movies, I'm getting over it, man. I'm starting to get to that point to where I'm like, oh my God. Like at first I was excited for Ant-Man. And then I as the trailers started slowly but surely coming out, I was like, it's a fucking multiverse thing. And there's like, whatever, it's a quantum realm and there's all this other shit going on or whatever. It's like, it's so much on a constant basis.
I think, it's oversaturation. And you also need to pick simplified storylines.
Yeah.
I think what did the X-Men series with Fox was the fact that they chose some really loved but really heavy storylines to adapt. I mean, Days of Future Past is not light reading, nor is the Phoenix Saga. The Phoenix Saga has so many other extra planal and extra universal characters, and it's not even funny, And then, you've got Civil War, and anybody who's read Marvel Civil War knows that reads like a Tolkien novel, for Christ's sakes. And then Marvel kind of oversimplified it with, and a lot of like Disney had to because they didn't have the rights to all the characters involved. The same with the Infinity Saga. I think if you were going to make a comic book movie and a comic book universe, you have to start small. That's the one thing that I am really looking forward to with James Gunn's universe is there's rumors that his Superman story is based on All-Star Superman, which is one of the greatest Superman graphic novels in a long time. And it really portrays how wholesome Clark Kent is and why he's Superman.
No.
And then the Batman approach he's taking with the Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin. For years, everybody's wanted to see a Batman and Robin that wasn't, George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell and jokes like, he's trying to kill you, dick.
Holy metal Batman.
Right. Like, why does my bat suit have nipple? Why does Batgirl have a thong?
Right. Where's my shark repellent?
And I think I hope that James Gunn's universe works. I really loved his work with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought those movies were amazing. Peacemaker was fucking hilarious and poignant. Like there were moments where you're like, oh, he's not such a douchebag. He's a little douchebag, but he's not as much as I thought he was. You know, in that moment where he's like, "Why don't you go fuck a fish?" I thought that was hilarious. And the fact that you had fucking Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
Now,
You know,
I have a question before we start wrapping up to get your guys' opinion. Because, like I mentioned before, Marvel Universe, they
Wait.
have all.
I would love to see James Gunn. We'll pose this as a question. My hope is that at some point James Gunn brings the Kingdom Come storyline to the screen.
That would be good. But like I was saying, the MC universe, you know, I mentioned and we all talked about it. They're so cohesive, movie to movie. They all intertwine in the story. What's y'all's opinion in how DC has released movies like the Joker and stuff like that as side projects that don't really intertwine with any of the other movies, but they are a DC character? How do you guys think that's affected the cohesiveness of the DC universe?
I will tell you this, coming from somebody that lives in a small town in East Texas, it has completely fucked it for people that don't understand shit.
Yeah.
So like, you know, the biggest thing is it is easy for us to go and see movies you know, with it being our lives, you know, that's what we soak into. We're on social media, we see this, and anytime there's a new comic book out or animated film or whatever, we're gonna watch it, you know, and we're gonna love it and or hate it, whatever. But when they bring up in this perspective,
there's caveats to that. Green Lantern,
just saying, I'm just saying, but
the
in the
Phantom
perspective,
with Billy Zane,
yeah,
remember that one with the purple jumpsuit?
Hey,
what, you have a purple jumpsuit?
I do have the exact purple jumpsuit from that movie and the ring.
I will pay
the
you
next
$100
reunion
to
show.
Wear it on the next.
You do it on the show.
No, you got to wear it to PAX East next year.
Yes,
I will give you $100 to wear it for an hour and walk around PAX East.
No. All right, if he has to do that, you have to play Skyrim.
Yeah,
okay,
it's happening. But I will say this: I can go and watch those movies, just probably like y'all, and go and watch these movies and enjoy them, and know that there's got to be some type of disconnect, or it's a different universe, or whatever else. But whenever I take someone like my father, who is a classic Batman fan, classic Superman fan, you know, he loved Man of Steel. He loved and he's different than I am. You know, I remember us going and seeing every Christian Bale Batman, you know, every time it came out, and he was like, fucking great. I loved it. Because he loved how it was more realistic and it wasn't this craziness, and it was like real world style kind of dark drama.
That is the one thing I will say I agreed with those movies. The scene where like he's in the in his doctor's appointment, his doctor's like, "Why is your knee cartilage gone?"
You know,
like
why. That's what my dad loved about it. You know, that he loved the fact that it was so different. And then when Batman versus Superman came out, you know, my dad was like, well, what is this about? I'm like, oh, it's kind of based on like Frank Miller's Batman and blah, 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 blah. And we went and saw it, and he was like, that was fucking terrible. Like, I don't want to watch anything like that. Then the Justice League came out, and I was like, just go with me. And we go and watch it. And of course, you know, I thought it was okay. The original, you know, the first cut of Justice League. But my dad fucking hated it. You know, so that, and he's not the type of person that goes and watches Marvel movies either, because he just thinks it's too much. He was like, I just want classic. So when we went and saw Joker, he loved Joker, but he hated the Batman. He hated he hated it. He said he thought that he said the Batman looked weak. He said that Batman was just like, he said the whole aura of the Batman. He was like, he was a depressed emo kid the whole movie. And I was like, well,
that universe is Batman.
That's what I told him. I was like, but that's a different universe. He was like, fuck the different universes. I just want one Batman. And I said, well, that's what they're trying to get back to.
I will say this about the actors that have portrayed Batman over the years. In my mind, the voice of Batman and the voice of Bruce Wayne, and may he rest in peace, is Kevin Conroy.
Oh, yeah, no question.
That is the voice I hear in my head whenever I read a Batman comic or a Batman graphic novel, because Kevin Conroy, and you know what? When you listen, they're so similar because it's his natural voice, but there's enough of a difference where when it comes to Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, hands down, best.
Ben
Bruce
Affleck.
Wayne.
Nope. Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne to
No,
me
see,
was better.
The
than
reason
Michael
I
Keaton as
say
Bruce Wayne.
the reason I say Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne is because strip away all of the superhero of Batman. Take that all away. Bruce Wayne has fucking issues. All right. He watched his parents
Yeah.
get shot in front of him. Like, the dude is messed up. That, and that moment in Vicky Vale's apartment in the 1989 Batman movie, when the Joker shows up and he's like, "You want to get crazy? Let's get crazy."
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was, now the detached Playboy, I want to say it's equal between Keaton and Affleck because of the moment in the 89 Batman when Vicky Vale and the reporter guy that I can't remember his name are in the room where they're looking at all the armor.
What was that guy's name?
I think he was in on sitcoms.
Yeah. But I was trying to think of what was his name. What was his character's name in the show? I can't remember.
Because he showed up in the CW's Infinite Crisis.
Yeah, he did.
But Michael Keaton did a really good job of being a space cadet. We're I don't remember buying this suit of armor.
Yeah.
Where Ben Affleck was really good at portraying I'm not paying attention, but I am. But when it comes to mental health and psychosis, I think Michael Keaton captured Bruce Wayne perfectly. Batman, however, on the movie screen, for me, I am a Batfleck fan. I loved when he just wiped out that warehouse floor.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That was the first time you saw Batman be fucking Batman.
Yeah.
Because let's stop being cavalier and illusionary about Batman. He may not kill people, but he definitely paralyzes them and turns them into quadriplegics at times. He's a brutal justice, and I think Frank Miller's Batman encompassed that, and Ben Affleck's portrayal of that encompassed it. What I would really love to see is the true relationship between him and Superman.
Yeah.
They respect each other. Batman is the only person that Superman trusts with a kryptonite ring. You look at the Absolute Power graphic novel and animated series where Clark makes a joke because he gets shot by Metallo, and he's like, if the Flash was here, and the Batman says something, and Clark's like, grow a sense of humor, and Batman's like, stop being a dick. There's a mutual respect between those two that I think is missing from the Zack Snyder thing. You had that moment in the Joss Whedon version where he was like, "Yeah, I bleed." That was fucking stupid. That's the one thing I think that will make James Gunn's vision of the DC universe cohesive is you need that friendship between Clark and Bruce.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I'll say this to kind of add into this as we get about to the end of the show.
I'm sorry. You guys know me. You get me talking about Marvel and DC. I will keep going. We'll turn this into an 8-hour
we have this
episode.
private chat. If
We
you've
were just
never
letting
done
you
it,
go.
We're like, hey. No, but honestly, I will say this to just wrap this point up.
Really quick. Mark, Doom is amazing. And when they're like, what if we did this to you? Batman's like, you haven't? You're stupid. That is the greatest moment in any DC animated movie ever. Where he tells Superman he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, but I'll say this: I think that there's a good possibility that James Gunn can do something really great. I think that if they water down Dwayne Johnson's ego and kind of, I think James Gunn, from what has been said outside of saying, outside of Dwayne Johnson coming out and being like, hey, this is what I think James Gunn is going to stick to his guns and really kind of push back and say,
see what you did there.
push back and say, hey, listen, dude, we know what the fuck we're doing. I didn't become I didn't get the position that I did. I didn't make the success that I did or whatever, because I'm a fucking idiot. So, But yeah, man, this is the reunion show, the Second Opinion podcast. So it's been a while since you guys have been on here. We really don't always do shout outs and stuff like that anymore. It's usually me and Bolch are like, we're looking at the clock. I'm like, motherfucker, it's 9:45. We gotta get this shit over with. But I want to say shout outs to both of you, of course, for coming on the show. Shout outs to Mark and Retro Gamer coming in and chatting it up with us or whatever. Anybody that's watching it as well, thank you for watching. And please, just give us your opinions, talk to us, comment, whatever else. As per usual, you can actually go to our Anchor page and go to anchor.fm. And search Second Opinion Podcast, and you can send us messages, you can send us voice requests, you can send us all different types of stuff. So, but you'll find this podcast on Spotify, you'll find it on iTunes, YouTube, and of course now you're going to be able to watch it in video format. So, Skelly, you have anybody you want to thank or shout out?
That's pretty much you two and everyone, that's, kept up with Second Opinion over the years and kept what we started going and allowing us to even come back, 8-9 years after the last show I was on. So, just shout out to you guys for wanting to do this again.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. What about you, Mr. Toaster?
Shout outs to you two. I think it's amazing. And I might be slightly inebriated from the bourbon and beer I've been drinking, but I think it's awesome that we haven't done this in a while, and we immediately fell right back into what made the original Second Opinion podcast a Second Opinion podcast.
Yeah.
Shout out to my wife who brought me a beer when I asked her to, because I ran out of beverage for this show. And just shout outs to everybody who has helped all of us, Jordan at Cinelinks, Torrin with Jay, Rachel and Jen from the Ill Popcorn podcast. And seriously, check out Rachel Carr, R.E. Carr, on Amazon. She is an award-winning author. But yeah, like I said, most of all, shout outs to you guys. I miss doing this podcast with you guys. I think this show has been amazing. Caleb, I'm so proud and happy with what you've done with D Nasty.
Hey man,
that started a sketch in my coffee stained fucking notebook.
He's gone through a lot. I took him away for a little bit and turned it into a fucking flaming controller for some reason.
Shout outs to Shane and Tony for giving me a shot at Shifted to You, making me stress out about the longest article I've ever written, fanboying over Mass Effect.
Yeah.
And shout outs, Skelly for fucking sitting outside on a picnic table with me while I was like, why does Isaac Clarke stomp so hard? And go, you know what? This guy should write reviews. And shout out to you that flaked out and gave me the ability to step up and be.
Well, listen, I want to give a shout. I will say that I want to give a shout out to that person, because I wouldn't really say that person flaked out. There was a weird time for the Second Opinion podcast and everything we were going on or whatever. That person was Mr. Gus Delusion, Mr. Delusion. Yep. So, big shout outs to Delusion. He's doing his thing now as a DJ.
He's traveling, doing festivals. So,
shout out to him as well. He actually reacted to the podcast with the "Oh my God" face when it was, hey, we're doing a reunion thing. And he was like, holy shit.
I'm not talking shit about you, buddy, but I thank you for not being.
Yeah, me and Gus are still friends on Facebook, and I follow what he does. So Gus Mendoza, if you want to
Gus Mendoza, Mr. Mendoza. But anyway, so I will say this. I need to hit up my dude that does my my intros, and I'll have my regular intro for the podcast for when me and Bolts do it. And then I already got the gears cranking for a retro introduction. I got this guy.
This needs to keep happening.
Yeah, it's gonna for sure. Yeah,
Perfect.
And I think it's awesome, man. I really do. I think this is a great way of rekindling the OG second opinion. So as I usually do, guys, big shout out to everybody that's listening. Big shout out to anybody that's watching. Thank you so much. And let's hear this amazing outro yet again. But I love you guys so much. Stick around, you two. I got some words for you.
Shit, I'm in trouble.
That was fun.
This was another opinionated episode of the Second Opinion Podcast. Check out the podcast on Anchor FM, Spotify, iTunes, and Cinelinks.com. Also, check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Second Opinion Podcast, for tons of gaming content coming soon.